Welcome to Backstage with Becca B with special guest Janaya Jones. Welcome to another episode of Backstage with Becca B. On this episode, you might have seen her as Elsa at the Hyperion Theater at California Adventure, or in shows at Rockwell Table and Stage such as Clueless, It, and Never Been Kissed. Please welcome Janaya Jones. Thanks for coming on this.
Oh, dude, no problem. I was literally when I got your message, I was like, how great just to like chat with you again, kiki about theater, and just and talk some nonsense as we did in normal times.
Right, when live theater was like a thing. That was still
yeah. Theater is like so last year now. So
so last year. So when was the last time I saw a theater show? In like March. So March 2020.
Yeah. Oh God. I'm trying to think what exactly was like the last show I saw you at. Was it Disney Brunch?
It might have been.
I think so. Man, oof.
That sounds right. Right.
Oh gosh.
That was like beginning of March, into February, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. I think it was like the last week of February.
Okay. So my first question is, when did you know that theater was like the career path you wanted to be in?
Oops, I dropped my phone. When did I know? Last year? I don't know. No, I think I knew that theater was the thing for me when I was a junior in high school, so about 16, 17 years old. I went to a college visit in Indiana for something completely different. It was for forensic anthropology, because I wanted to be like bones. And I went, and when they told me that basically the reason that you go to college for forensic anthropology is just to teach in the end, because there's not a lot of bones laying around in the road like there is on TV, then I was like, maybe this isn't for me, because like I want it to be an everyday thing. And then I was like, well, I like theater and I love bones, so like why don't I just act like I'm a forensic anthropologist so that I can put these two things together. So that was when I started, like I kind of just trashed everything that had to do with science and forensic anthropology specifically, and turned over to the musical theater world.
Hey. And what was the first theater show you ever saw that made you realize that you like loved it?
Oh God. You know what? Okay. I was in 7th or 8th grade, one of the two, because we would each year in junior high, like one year of your junior high thing, you would see the play, and then the other year of junior high, you would see the musical at my high school. And I want to say it was 8th grade. That makes more sense. But we bus and trucked over down the street to the high school, and we saw Secret Garden. And that did it for me. I was like, this is everything I want. I want to live all of this life. I want to, like, just down to, I loved the classical feel. I loved like just everything about it. Now coming back to it, and like everyone's obsessed with contemporary and pop rock musicals and stuff, I still think of Secret Garden and I'm like, God, I wish more people produced it. I wished like I could be in it. Like there are so many different things, but I still to this day, I love that musical. And if it ever pops on a playlist, I'm like, this is where it all started.
Yes. That's one of my absolute favorites. And I feel like that also had a big role in me loving musical theater, because I was actually in it when I was like 8.
Yes.
In the production of it. So what do you remember the songs in it? What was your favorite song, just by curiosity?
Oh, it's the duet between the professor and the, oh God, what is it called? Hold on, let me pull it up. They did the musical again in college, and which I knew, I was like, this is a sign. And when this song came on, I was like, this is my jam. Or is it Lily's Eyes? Duh.
Oh, yes. I agree, though. Those songs and that musical, it's just like pure magic in theater. I've never seen a professional production of it, but I'd love to.
I don't think I did either. Yeah, it was just the high school production of it, and then my college production of it. So, but both of them I was not a part of, and I was sad about it. So.
Next time, the third time.
Yeah, third time's the charm. That's what we always say, right?
Yes.
Yep. Hey, that's what happened with Esmeralda, so that makes sense.
Okay, who is your musical theater idol or role model, and why?
Oh, shoot. Musical theater. It's changed so much over the years. Like, I used to be a huge Sutton Foster girl for the longest time, but that was because, like, she was the epitome of musical theater for so long, and still is, but, like, just the musicals that I would listen to and that I loved. Like, I was obsessed with Little Women. I was obsessed with Anything Goes. And, you know, she was in the revival and everything. And I just wanted to be her. But pretty much now it's changed to, of course, Renee Elise Goldsberry. She is everything I could ever dream of being, and then some. Tony Award-winning actress Renee Elise Goldsberry.
Yes.
For the 2016 musical Hamilton. But then I also also watching Hamilton last night, I was like, I'm so inspired by all of these women in this show. Like, I mean, Philippa Sue is just mwah, mwah. And Jasmine Cephas Jones, like her voice is like butter, like, and she's just so effortless, you know.
They're on.
Peggy is a role that can be so overlooked because, you know, it's just the Aunt Peggy, you know, the track, and she made it so magical that it would either be those three or pretty much anyone that's ever played Elphaba in their entire lives. So just
oh my god, yes, everyone who's played Elphaba, relatable.
Seriously, they're all amazing. That's my homegirl.
Wait, did you see Lindsay as Elphaba?
No, I did not get to see Lindsay. I'm heartbroken that I didn't get to see her. She said, I heard her story on Pixel Playhouse one week, but like she only went on like 10 times or something.
Yeah.
So just before everything went down. But I mean, to say you did, you know, and to say that you're going to, you know, when everything comes back to normal, it's legendary. And then getting to hear her singing that Elphaba mega mix that Shoshana put together, like that was everything I could have asked for.
She's gonna slay it when it comes back.
Oh God, I can't wait to cry my eyes out. But yeah, I've heard her sing The Wizard and I on Pixel, and then now hearing her sing Defying Gravity, I was like, so, you know, seeing your friends do the thing makes you even more like. One of my friends plays Hamilton on the Angelica tour, and I texted him and I was like, Edred, I just want to let you know that I watched Hamilton last night, and now it gives me even more reasons to go see you.
Yeah. Because it's like not always the original cast members are the people who end up loving the most.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like I can't remember who Michael saw when he saw Hamilton with Joanna in it. But like, I mean, I would die to see Joanna. Yeah. She's my life. But also, he was saying that the guy who he had playing Aaron Burr was insane. He was like, I love Leslie Odom Jr., but like the guy that I saw live, and I'm like, and that goes back to our conversation earlier of just like how when you see things live, it hits you a little bit different than, you know, when you're seeing it on film. But
for sure,
nothing but respect for Leslie Odom Jr., Tony Award-winning actor.
Yeah. The LA theater community, it's such a tight-knit community. So how did you get involved with that community?
Weirdly enough, I kind of went backwards. So when I graduated college, I was out here already, and my school would give me like all these recommendations for different regional theaters to try out for. And the first place I worked at was Cabrillo Music Theater, now 5-Star Theatricals, which, you know, 40 minutes north of LA. And then after that, I made a really big stamp in the San Diego community. So I was out there for like 2.5 years, 3 years is what, oh God, it feels like I lived there for 3 years, but I have just been back and forth throughout the whole entire thing. And what brought me back to LA, weirdly enough, was Rockwell. And it was the summer of 2018 that I auditioned for Clueless. I got a message from Kate Pazakis and Jimmy Smagula, and they were like, hey, we would be interested in seeing you for this thing. Like, we saw that you auditioned. Do you mind coming in for a callback? And at the time I couldn't. I was doing a production of Little Mermaid in Riverside. So I was like, no, I can't drive all the way up there right now, but I can send you a tape. But I do want to let you know this is the busiest summer of my life. I'm just going to put that out there right now because, you know how Rockwell goes. It's like, we have a bunch of performances. We do have covers and swings and stuff like that, or even when it used to be doubles, before we switched over to an equity house. And they were like, okay, we'll just send in your tape. Let's just see how it goes. And originally they had cast another girl to play the second Dion, or, Dion 1 and Dion A, Yeah. And they, I guess, called me back a week later after I had sent in my tape and everything. Cause they're like, oh, this is great. Send us your conflicts. And I sent them the whole New Testament of conflicts. Yeah. And they were like, maybe not, and then a week later they call me back and they're like, hey, we ran into something and we are doubling back to you to see if you would be interested in doing it. And I was like, you saw my conflicts, right? Like, I thought that was a big thing in the theater community. And they were like, yeah, but we decided to work around them. I think you should be fine. So that was where I got my start. And I mean, shout out to Dominique Patton for really holding down that role, because she did the majority of the performances. And then we also had Ashley Argota jump in and Lana McKissick jump in for Dion, and those were super fun to watch. And yeah, Dion was just like this rotating thing where like everybody got a hand in to play Dion in Clueless 2.0. But I would perform mostly on Sundays because I was able to do the 12 o'clock and, I think it was 12 o'clock. Yes, 12 o'clock at the time. And then drive down to San Diego and do a show. And that was when Rockwell was doing shows for 4 months at a time.
Yeah.
So it was like, I would be like, okay, guys, it was fun. I would love to stay for brunch, but like, I gotta go because I got a call time to catch.
So go to San Diego.
Yeah, that was my whole summer, really. And ever since Clueless, I like tried to get my hand into as many Rockwell shows as I could, just like for the convenience factor, for just the community. Like it is the most amazing group of people you'll ever meet, and this firsthand. Yeah. And I'm so happy that I've been able to do more. Like, I want to be Lana McKissick one day where I can do like 47 Rockwell shows and like and just like jump in on a dime like Ashley, and it's been so great. And this year specifically, or this past year, 2019 into 2020, was really where I was like, oh, I live here now. So.
Yeah, I feel like I started seeing you like at everything in 2019.
Well, that's because I'll always get a call from Pablo being like, hey, we need a cover for like a jazz night. Do you want to come? And I've been doing jazz nights with Pablo since 2015, 2016. Nope, 2017. Where are the years going? They are fleeting.
I don't even know what year it is right now. It's fine.
Honestly. But yeah, it was when we were both living in New York, and he called me on a moment's notice because someone had dropped out because they booked a cruise line. And then ever since then, he's like, okay, I know I can count on her for things. So.
Yes. Well, the fact that I wanted you like so badly for Clueless that they worked around your conflict, that says a lot about your
I felt really good about my audition that I filmed. That was the first like self-tape that I ever felt good about. But yeah, it was one of the, watching Dominique do it, I would just show up on days that I could, like, just to go watch her, and she's excellent. And just, I was lucky that I got to perform alongside her for Frozen. I believe it was only for one show. But it was magical, and I want her back.
Wait, did she play Anna in Frozen?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
She
okay.
was the first Black Anna to ever grace the Frozen stages.
Yes.
And man, is she something. She just vibrant, like everything about her, and being able to watch on side stage, like her just like having fun and being herself and like unapologetically Dominique. It was so fun to be a part of. So I miss her.
Speaking of Frozen at Hyperion, how did you get involved in Frozen there?
Oof. Buckle up, it's a long story. So
I'm down.
I started auditioning for Disney back in 2015. And it was like when I was in college, and whenever I had a free moment, I would always just go run over to, what is that friggin' studio called in North Hollywood? This is how you know we haven't done it in a while. Screenland Studios. There it is. Screenland Studios. Went over there, and I was always doing lookalike auditions, like for princesses and stuff, because I was like, I want to be Princess Jasmine or Pocahontas, you know. Get some more beautifully brown women in this company.
Yes.
And they were not having it. Not because of my brownness, but just because like I'm not a Disney princess at all. Like,
Who says you can't be a Disney princess?
Oh my God. Well, just like the women that play Disney princesses, and I'll also say this about anybody who is like, anybody that is a character actor, like that is a mouse or that is a duck or that is, you know, like Goofy or anything like that, they have a very specific talent that no one else can do, which is like literally recreate this person for people to see, but do it all day long. Like, you know, when you talk to those princesses, like I would have these awesome talks with some of the Cinderellas that would be in the parks and stuff, and they are the sweetest people in the world, and they also are always in character. Like, I don't know if you saw that Kristen Bell interview where she was like, "Are you okay? Like, blink twice if you need help." But no, they're so dedicated to their craft, and it is one of those things where you kind of have to carbon copy this thing, and that with live theater, with doing Frozen, you are allowed to kind of sprinkle a little bit of yourself in there. So that's the biggest difference, I think. And also it was one of those things where they would look for, what was the word? They used to use it, something similar to like the Disney look, where you would find someone who had a face that can fit everything. You know, like if you were to slap on a Pocahontas wig, and then shortly after you'd be able to slap on like a, one of the Pixie Hollow Fairies wigs on or something like that. They wanted people that could play more than one thing.
Yeah,
exactly. So it was difficult for me because I have a unique face, if you will. So they were like, no, you know, try something else. So I started going to singing auditions just to, you know, to fuel the muscle and to exercise my audition bone and stuff like that. But I started going in for Frozen, I want to say like right when I moved back from New York. And I went in 6 times, and which is less than a lot of other girls. Like if you talk to Chelsea Franco or anything like that, she said she went in 14 times, I believe. But there have been worse ones. So 6 is easy for me. But they always are looking for something very, very specific. So around the time that I was doing Clueless actually was my last audition for them. And I wouldn't say it was the best, and I wouldn't say it was the worst, but you know, they ask you to sing Let It Go over and over and over and over again, just to make sure that you can do it. Yeah, it's exhausting. And when I had first started Frozen, it was painful, you know, like trying to adjust your body to doing that not 3 times a day, but maximum 2 times a day. And then if you had to do it for multiple days in a row, it's exhausting. So like at first I was not it, like it was just not the jam. And luckily I didn't see any of the like negative comments or anything that people put, but I'm sure they're out there somewhere because everybody has a favorite. But it was exhausting. I would just come home and cry and be so frustrated with myself because I'm like, if I can't do 2 shows a day at Frozen, what makes me think I'm going to do 8 shows a week on Broadway, you know? So
you could do it.
Well, yeah,
I could see it.
Yeah, it was a training thing. So it really was just like getting called into work more frequently and just singing the song more. That was the biggest advice that I got from John Glaudini, our music director, was just sing the song every day. Like whether you're at home or like if you're in the car or something like that, just, you know, sing it how you would on the stage. And I was like, well, I can't run up a flight of stairs. I mean, I guess I can go find somewhere and just run up and down the stairs and try to get the momentum to do it. But yeah, it's like you won't get the same feeling as you do when you're up there and you're running on adrenaline as well. But it's insane. But yes, I did those 6 auditions and still auditioning for Disney to this day, even though I'm an employee. Like they always have new shows and they're always looking for Tiana replacements and stuff like that. Not anymore. They have a pretty good group now, but one day I'll get in that show.
Yes. Or even better, 8 shows a week on Broadway.
8 shows a week on Broadway. Okay,
yes.
Let's manifest it.
Yes.
I am here for that. But yeah, now with Frozen, and Disney is such a great company for growth. So they want to keep you as long as you can be there, you know?
Yeah.
So they'll always have auditions available. And so now I work 3 shows. They do Frozen, Five and Dime, and the Disney Junior Dance Party. So getting able to kind of run around and do all those, like, it's a blast. Weirdly enough, Disney Junior is my favorite. I was not expecting it to be. Five and Dime is just, I could do that show 7 days a week.
Which one is the Five and Dime one? It's the
jazz band.
Okay.
Yeah, Five and Dime. She's wearing a little orange dress. She goes around singing like Sunny Side of the Street and all that stuff. They had the car that you would drive around.
Okay, I was gonna say that's the one that like goes by people as they're walking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes in tandem with the Red Car Newsboys. Pour one out for them. R.I.P.
Yeah.
So when they would be performing, we'd be getting ready, and then vice versa. So like they would try to keep that square occupied as much as possible so that people wouldn't just like flood that space. But now it's just us.
So what's it like performing for the audiences at Disneyland? Because it's so different than the Rockwell audiences.
Oh, absolutely. I can't get away with some of the stuff that I get away with at Rockwell at Disney. I would be fired. But
I feel like you said what in front of the kids?
Right. Or like even sometimes I can get a little overly contemporary at Five and Dime, and that happens to be some of my biggest notes sometimes. Is like, hey, you know, go back to the 30s and 40s, and you know, you can dance around and be silly and stuff, but you know, if your friends are there, you like stay in character. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do like patty cake handshakes with people anymore, so it's cool. Every venue is different for like experiencing audiences. Frozen, I can barely see anybody just because the lights are so bright, and it is a huge theater. It is a true theater in Disneyland. It seats 2,500, I believe. And the only time that I see faces is if I am like at the very front of the stage, just by the stairs. And Elsa never goes out into the audience like some of the other cast members do. So it's one of those things where, you know, I don't get to experience it like everybody else does. And sadly, that's one of the most isolating things about being Elsa. You know, she's in her kingdom of isolation always.
I was gonna say.
Seriously though, on and off stage, because it's like when I'm on stage, everyone else is off stage, and vice versa. Like Love is an Open Door. I'm just like hanging out with the text backstage. Like, who do I talk to? Because everyone else is on stage.
Like lonely.
Oh, so lonely. And that was one of the biggest pieces of advice that I got from the other Elsas was like, don't get stuck in that isolation, because you will be by yourself. Like the song is very telling of your track in the show. But back to the question at hand, the audiences are all very different. Frozen's audiences are electric. Like the Frozen Live at the Hyperion fans are insane, in the best and worst possible way. Like you will see people that have gone to see the show like 500 times, 600 times, or whatever. And we also have these amazing annual pass holder photographers that come and see the show. So like most of my pictures that you see on Instagram are from them. So, they take the time out of their day to take those pictures for you, and also take those pictures for themselves too, because, they want to continue to up their repertoire. Some of them that we know throughout the cast are, published now through Disney, because they just go and take pictures, and they're amazing.
The commitment.
But then when you go to like the Disney Junior Dance Party and you're just all up in it, and there are these wild kids, like it is free daycare for parents. So they just all sit in the back and they have nothing to do with it. And they just push their kids forward and they're like, here, take my kid.
You're like, great.
And it's like, we can engage with them, and, we ask them to like push buttons on the iPad and like have conversations with these kids. And some of them are hilarious. Like, that's the one where I can be the most contemporary. So like if someone if a kid says something really weird or really funny, like I'm allowed to laugh and, authentically think it's hilarious. And then with the 5 and dime crowds, it's a weird in between of Frozen and Disney Junior, where it's very up close and personal. And you're able to, talk to people, and like I used to high five people, but now that's another too contemporary thing. So I would like put out my hand for people to shake. And you can kind of get up all in people's faces, but also you have to kind of keep your distance so that you can hear what the band's doing, or, if something goes awry, you know what can possibly happen. And you as Dime, you kind of have to lead that whole entire thing. So I have to keep my ears open for the boys, and then I have to keep my eyes open for if a random kid runs through the stage with a popsicle and like drops it on the ground, So, it has happened.
Yeah.
It has happened plenty of times.
Oh, I'm sure. Because Disneyland is for the kids, and California Adventure is for the kids, and it's like they're gonna do whatever they want. So how do you when like something unexpected happens like on stage at either at Disney or like at Rockwell, how do you work around that as an actor or actress? I've always wondered that.
It can go a variety of different ways, and one of the best casts for something to go wrong with was the It cast. We were literally ready for anything, because so much would go wrong, like somebody's balloon wouldn't inflate, or wigs were flying everywhere. And you have to really have proper communication with your entire cast before something awry happens. But for Frozen, and for a lot of things at Disney specifically, they have everything mapped out. So if X, Y, Z were to happen, you'd know which page to turn to in your brain of like, okay, this is how we keep the show going, or for my health and safety, I need to leave the stage. You may have seen in videos, but a lot of people will throw up an X at Disney, and that is to stop the show immediately because something went wrong.
Like a set piece.
Yes, exactly. So it's like if, for example, this happened to me actually, I was climbing up the stairs and everything was going fine. And then weirdly enough, the stairs stopped moving and I was out over the audience. And so I kept singing because I didn't know exactly what to do because this was the first time that this happened to me. Oh God. Got through the song. Everything was fine. But on the way back, as they were transitioning into Christoph's introduction, it just had this screeching noise that sounded like the gates of hell were opening. And I was terrified for my life because all of the Elsas, after Let It Go, you have nowhere to go. So you have to stay on the stairs.
Oh my God.
While it's pushing backwards.
And how tall are the stairs?
That's a good question, actually. I want to say, I don't know the exact number, but they're pretty freaking tall. Like,
yeah.
If I'm 5 foot, I don't even make it or 5'5". I don't, like, on the platform of the stair, I probably don't even make it up to the halfway point. So I would say like about 15, 20 feet up in the air.
They're quite a bit bigger than Broadway and Tour ones.
Oh God, yes. Yeah. But then Broadway and Tour were like, we're not doing these stairs.
Absolutely not.
It's true. It's very, very true. They were like, this is not happening. Like, these stairs were sketchy. And case in point, I got stuck on it. And a tech walked out and threw an X up in the air, and you couldn't really see them from the audience, but I could see them because they flashed their light on themselves, and they put the X up, and I just had to like walk down the stairs in a blackout,
casually,
like, holding on in the stairs with my dress, like trying to hunker my way
don't
down.
fall.
Exactly. And then they couldn't put the scrim down for the next scene. So, because there's a whole transition thing that needs to happen in between, like it has to get from the Ice Palace to Christoph's sleigh that comes out. But now with the stairs stuck, the sleigh couldn't come out.
Oh.
So we
just everything.
Yeah, so we I believe we kept going. The techs were able to figure it out. But there are days where, you know, sometimes it doesn't happen. Like one of our Elsas had a bloody nose one day, and the dress is very expensive. So she threw up an X and was like, we need to stop the show. I have a bloody nose. And she walked off stage, and they were like, is the dress okay?
The dress okay? Not are you okay? Is the dress okay?
She was like, I'm fine, thanks for asking. But also, no, I did not get blood on this very expensive dress. And it was one of those things where I believe she went back out and did the rest of the show. Like, she got her bloody nose taken care of. But there was one time that at Frozen, something fell from the sky, and there was a video on YouTube for a while, but I think it got removed. But it was like a light casing or something like that. It was small, but it had a very, very big impact. And it fell from the sky, and one of our girls like freaked out. So they immediately stopped the show. Like, everybody got sent out. Like, the show was over, and like in summer, and then it was done. Like, so no resolve.
Yeah, because it could have been like a light fixture or something, and it could fall on. Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, our girl, she's okay. Everything was fine. She didn't get hit, but it was very, very close. So yeah, there are things like that, you know, the uncontrollable circumstances.
Yeah.
But then there are the controllable circumstances, like what happens up the Rockwell. And again, you have to have that communication with your cast, and you get that eye as an actor where you're like, something's going wrong, let's fix this together. And a lot of it just turns into improv and riffing off of each other's jokes, or doing whatever to buy time. Like if someone missed a change, or if they went to the bathroom or something like that. Oh my God, I have to plan out my track. Oh God, I would have to plan out my track to make sure that I could like go to the bathroom, because you know, you're running around, you're chugging water every place you go. So I would always like find a place in every show that I've done there, just to make sure that like, okay, I can go either run upstairs and go to the bathroom, or I can go run literally the bathroom just out front. Yeah. And as long as I can pee. But the cast always has your back. So if anything does go wrong, either the cast has your back or the tech has your back, and they can make sure it either goes back to normal or the show just stops.
Someone, I believe her name is Skystagram on Instagram. I know the answer, but wanted to know if there was any time when you laughed on stage during it.
I laughed on stage. I laughed on stage all the time during it.
Yeah.
I broke character so many times in that show just because I was in the presence of greatness. I mean, I still talk about it to this day. There's still the background on my phone. Like, that freaking cast means the world to me. And we really created something very, very special with that show. And we had no idea that it was going to happen. I would mostly laugh at Sterling and just all the stupid stuff that he would do, because he's one of those people that is so nonchalant about just like making something funny when he's not even trying. He just sits there, or he just like, he looks at you funny and then you start cracking up. But there have been plenty of times. The time that Garrett ripped my wig off was a classic moment. It was during Bohemian Rhapsody, and he went to grab me and flip me around so that they could do the big tug, the push and pull thing, and my wig just flew off my head. And I was trying so hard to keep it together, because luckily I was able to catch it in the air and like put it back on my head.
Nice going, Garrett.
Oh my God. But we died laughing about it afterwards. But yes, plenty of times I have laughed on stage. It's inevitable, especially with it. And I'm sure that Skystagram, I believe is that name. I'm sure they know as well, watching it online. From your videos, by the way, which thank you.
I mean, that fan base that you all got from that show was insane. They were amazing.
Oh my God, they're incredible. They still talk to us to this day, and are still creating art, which is amazing. And
so good.
That was like right when TikTok was becoming popular, and it was the strangest thing because it was an overnight sensation. Like, the amount of people that found us through you and through TikTok and through all that kind of stuff, it was insane. Like, I just got tagged in something this morning that was like it was this hilarious little highlight video, which I have to like reply and tell them thank you for putting it all together. But they had all of these cute little captions of like my facial reactions and stuff, of like what I am saying inside of my head.
Oh my gosh, that's so
and
cute.
Then also just like, courtesy closed captioning stuff. So it was very, very sweet. So I have to thank that person. But that fan base, I love them.
So you recently participated in Clue with Pixel Playhouse, yeah?
Mm-hmm. I sure did.
So how did that come about?
It was a text from Ryan O'Connor. Thank you, Ryan. Also, please excuse the ice cream man outside of the house. If you heard him.
Get me ice cream.
Yeah, he's got his bell on, so just be wary. So it was a text from Ryan. I was sitting on the couch right over here, and he texted me and said like, hey, we're doing this cool immersive new project with Pixel Playhouse. I mean, I don't think he knew that I had known who they were, so he was like, if you haven't seen them, check them out here. And they're doing this like whodunit murder mystery party thing. And I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. And it was about the time that like my quarantine slump was over. And I was interested to like just create some content. So they put together the first ever, I believe, interactive live stream of an original musical. And it was insane. It's like, anybody watching this interview, drink anytime Janaya says insane. It was crazy. Like, they had to build a whole studio in my house, and not in my house, it was actually here at Michael's. And it was this huge green screen and all these lights, and like that we had to hardwire to the internet to make sure that didn't crash. And they brought in a laptop. Like, it was originally mine, but mine was running really slow because of all of the apps that you have to download. And then, so they brought a new laptop that I could just use, and it wouldn't be for like any personal stuff. It would just be for Zoom and for the show. But it was freaking crazy. Like, kind of, it felt like I was getting that rush of live theater again, because like, we had to run off and do a costume change and get into our Clue gear. And but it was also so weird because I didn't get to see anybody. Like,
you don't get to see the audience in front of you.
I definitely didn't get to see the audience. We capped out at about average 250 to 275 a show, which was really nice. and we had a lot of repeat people come to see the show, and like when they had announced it and tickets went on sale, even though it was free, people would reserve like for every day.
Well, people were like, theater.
Yeah, they're like, oh my gosh, finally something that we can watch and enjoy, you know. And although there was a lot of that happening in San Diego, like there's not a lot of it happening right now in LA. So it was nice to have that refreshing thing. And like friends from high school got to see it, and like my mom got to see it, and she doesn't live in LA, she's in San Francisco. So like a lot of people that don't normally get to see me perform were able to see me perform live, in a sense. But like I didn't get to see my cast, you know, like the only people that we got to see were our amazing tech team, Cricket Myers and Andrew Schmedke. Like they work for Pixel a lot, but this project was very, very special because of them. They would come to everybody's house and set up their stuff, and if any drop-off deliveries needed to happen, like we needed a new pair of headphones or like our computer crashed or something, they would always come over and make sure that everything was okay. But they were also able to tap into our computers remotely, so that if a problem ran in the mid-show, which happened a lot, they were able to just jump in and be like, hey, what's going on? You know, and they would just be able to fix it immediately. So that part of it was insane, because you would have 8 different voices in your head because the show would still be going on, but then you'd also hear our stage manager and our tech crew and stuff like that, like trying to make it happen.
You're like, what? What ear am I supposed to listen out?
Exactly. Like I wish it was an in-ear situation where you can like turn people down, but it was very informative just seeing like how to kind of fix your own problems too. Like, you know, being an actor, everybody's just like, okay, we're here and we're going to do the show part, and then everybody else does their job. But this project specifically, we were able to do a little bit of everything, you know, like we had our own tech solutions if something went wrong, or we would help each other if like one of our tech people weren't there that day. And we have become masters at Zoom, like, and just how to handle this platform.
It's a weird virtual world.
It is a very weird virtual world, but yeah, I just like when we had our cast parties for the opening night and the closing night, it would just be over Zoom, and it was so cheesy and lame, but like I wanted to be with them, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So, but you know, we had a good time regardless. We watched a lot of champagne bottles pop with a really cool saber sword. Graham will do it after every show, I guess. And
yeah, I can picture Graham doing that too.
Blessings for him.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, big ups to that. Like, big props to them for putting something like that together. I know they have some other plans coming down the windpipes, so it's like, you know, why stop the momentum?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. I was gonna say, is there anything else in the works?
Yeah, there is. They haven't like fully settled down on stuff yet, because there's you know, rights and all that kind of stuff. And no licensing company was prepared for a pandemic to happen. So there's no such thing as digital rights. So, you know, now it's the game of creating your own content, or like finding content creators that are able to just bust stuff out super quickly. And then they'll have that streaming platform of Twitch to make it happen. But the special thing about Twitch is that it's interactive. So, you know, you have to kind of cater your musical or play around the interactive interface.
And it is nice having the virtual events that people don't have to like get on a plane and travel to if they're...
Exactly. Yeah. Like I know a lot of the It fans, bless them, they were like, do it. And we were like, as much as we'd love to, like, I don't know if Rockwell even knows how to do half that stuff. So we would have to collaborate, like Rockwell and Pixel Playhouse present. And it would be nice again, just to see everybody and to do that show again. I was just, yesterday I was just thinking about it and like just how much fun I had.
I'm sure Chad could figure something like that out.
Chad can make it happen. Chad can make anything happen, honestly. And then just with Pablo and EK at the helm, they're all brilliant over there. So I think they could make it happen. It's just a matter of like, I think we're all just so ready to go back to normal again. It's tough. And now that it's happening more and more, and that it's one of those things that now it's just even able to happen, like it's possible, then now I think it's getting people's brains working of like, what other stuff can we put on here? So.
Yeah, I'm wondering what Jordan has up his sleeve too.
Oh gosh. Everything. I mean, he's written how many musicals during this time?
Oh my God, there's gonna be like 10 Jordan shows going on simultaneously when like theater gets back.
Oh my God, just every theater, like now playing at Rockwell, 3 clubs, and everywhere else. Every single one of Jordan's musicals during the pandemic. He's like Hamilton, you know, when they say, why do you write like you're running out of time? He's just one of those people that can just write, which I do not have that talent. He is great. So
yeah, agreed.
But yeah, it's crazy. I miss Riverdale. Riverdale is supposed to happen.
So since the industry is known for being like so tough, how do you work on self-confidence?
That is a really, really good question. Because a lot of people are like, oh, Janaya, you're so confident, you're so chill, you know, like you don't let things get to you. And I think a lot of that came from my college education, like training at AMDA. They definitely made it hard to think of yourself as anything more than what you want to be or anything. But that was the whole point. They were like, you know, we're going to tell you no, because we're going to be the first people to tell you no. And there's going to be thousands of other people that do that. So, you know, if you're not up to the caliber that we believe that you can be at, then we're going to make sure that you know that, you know. And there have been countless times, like the 2 times before getting the role of Esmeralda that I auditioned, I would just be a puddle. I would just cry. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, why did I choose this job? But you know, you find things that, you know, once you do start getting those, you know, you get to your 100th no and your 1000th no and all that kind of stuff, that you're like, all right, it just wasn't meant to be at this time. And then you go about and do something else. But I found a lot of confidence with just like, singing stuff that I want to sing was a big thing, because the things that I felt the most unconfident with were like assignments that I just didn't vibe with, you know, like you're gonna sing from a golden age musical, and I'm like, why? why would you do this to me? Because at the time, that was when I was like, all I want to do is be in Rent and American Idiot and Next to Normal, and I will accept no criticisms. So,
yeah, you're like, I don't want a golden age musical.
Exactly. And they're like, do Ragtime. And I was like, which I love. I love Ragtime. It's one of my favorite shows. But I also was like, I want to be more than that. I want to do other stuff. I want to be versatile. And they're like, no. So now they see me now and they're like, oh, she's never done Ragtime ever. I wonder why. But yeah, it's that. It's like, Michael and I will play Just Dance in the living room to like up our confidence of dancing and movement. I took up pole dancing last year, and my confidence has flown through the roof because of pole dancing. Mostly just because of like the strength and stability of it all, as opposed to the like sexiness and femininity of it all. I was just like, I feel wicked strong. I'm like, I can do anything. If I go back to New York, Pearl Studios won't know what to do with me, you know, like, but that was the confidence that pole, like the sport of it all, gave to me. But yeah, a lot of that, and there is an ounce of like, there's a thing in the world that we just call the F it version, where no matter how dumb you feel, or like if you're going into something for an audition that you personally don't think you feel right for, you do a couple takes, and then like the last take is the F it version. And that's kind of how I've been able to just walk into everything. And weirdly enough, like Rockwell is the definition of the F it version, where you can kind of get away with everything and it still somehow becomes genius, or you accidentally do something and it's like, oh, keep that, we're going to do that. That's going to be what we're doing.
The improv version.
Exactly. Like not being afraid to mess up, I think is what has upped my confidence a lot in this industry. Because yeah, you do get a lot of no's, but the yeses that you get make doing this whole thing so much more special.
And can you talk about Esmeralda?
I can.
Yes.
Can I talk about Esmeralda? I do it every day.
Go on, please.
So, it was the summer of 2018, and I had auditioned back in March. The show was in like August, but I auditioned back in March because they are a summer stock theater, so you audition for all of it at the same time. And I knew, I was like, I want to do Hunchback. That's it. No other show. Like, don't even consider me for anything else. I want to do Hunchback. And at this time, it was my third time auditioning for the show regionally. The first time, I just wasn't experienced enough. The second time, I couldn't dance well enough. And that made me very, very nervous for the rest of the audition. And then this time, I was like, I'm ready to go. Like, I took dance classes. I would sing the songs ad nauseum, like just to make sure I was off book for everything. Like I would memorize all the scenes and then like do it with other people just to see like what their reads were so I can react to them properly. And we get to the callback and it was myself and 4 other girls. And I believe it was one of the girls had already done Esmeralda before. And I was like, shit. I was like, this is it. This is my demise. And at the time, I was not union. So I was the only non-union member in that group. And it was horrifying because I was there with some of my like regional theater idols.
No pressure.
Oh my God. I kept saying to myself, no pressure, because I knew walking in, I was like, I'm going to walk out with this role. You know, I had to put that confidence in my brain because I didn't want this opportunity to pass me by again. So I went in and we started with dancing first, which I was like, okay, at least we're getting that out.
Yeah, get it. Yeah.
And I had never felt so good about a dance audition before, like, and especially with something that I was so passionate about. I mean, you can go look at the reviews. They were literally like, Janaya is not the greatest dancer. And I was like, you know what, whatever, okay?
Like
I felt good about it, and that's all that matters. She's supposed to be mesmerizing in all fronts, not just her dancing. So we did that, and they didn't cut anybody because there were so few of us. So they kept us all out there for pretty much the long haul. So they let us all dance and they let us all sing. And I believe they had to sing all of God Help the Outcasts because, I mean, it's a relatively short song. So they wanted to get the full journey. And after that was when they made a cut. And I was in the room crapping my pants. I was so nervous, like, because I wanted it so badly. And I was there with my best friend. And he and I were there, and he was going out for the role of Quasimodo. And a friend of his who was going out for the role of Phoenix. And I was like, could you imagine if we just all did it, you know? And so they held off on Esmeralda's for a while and started going with the boys. And I'm like, why don't you just tell us? Like, we want to know what's going on. Just like give us the cut at least so like, you know, we can go home.
The suspense.
And the suspense, it was horrifying. Like I didn't know what to do with myself. So it was a lot of like twiddling my thumbs and, you know, playing with rubber bands and like just trying to get my mind off of it. Like, cause I knew it was done. Like the worst of it was done. And midway through, I believe it was the Phoebus auditions because there weren't very many. And the guy that they ended up casting for Phoebus was from New York. So they had him on tape. And they came back out and they're like, okay, so we were able to talk about the Esmeraldas for a moment because they had auditioned, I believe, 12 Quasimodos. So they weren't even near close. So they're like, you know what, let's not waste your time. So they made a cut, and that cut was a big one because there were only 5 of us. So it went from 5 to 2. And it was myself and another gal. And that I got even more nervous after that because I was like, how did that happen? Like, these girls that were called back for this role are insane. And like some of the, like, as I had mentioned, some of the regional theater, musical theater people that I look up to in this industry. So I was shocked more or less. So I was just like, okay, like, here we go, I guess. And they didn't have us read with Phoebus because they had already cast the guy from New York who was amazing. So good. But they had us read with Quasimodos and Frollos because they were kind of across the board with those and they didn't know who to pick. So I read with my Quasimodo, I read with David Burnham, and then I read with another guy who was, for the Quasimodos, he was the non-equity choice at the time. And both times I was like, what do I need to do? So I like laid on the ground, like, cause it was Esmeralda's death scene, you know, they were just mostly looking for, I think the chemistry between Quasimodo and Esmeralda when such high stakes happen. And I'm laying on the ground just weeping. You know, this is after she just got hit, like she's dealing with consumption, like she is about to die. And that part breaks my heart every time. So I was a mess. And, you know, I'm in that scene, you kind of feel like a prop, you know, because you're laying on the ground and you've passed, your time is over, and they have a whole nother conversation happening while you're there. So I'm like, as Frollo and Quasimodo are talking to each other, I'm like, just crying inside. And
like, how do I just like stay frozen and still?
I was trying so hard. I was doing my death breathing, which is what they call it when I was in school, where, you know, you have to breathe with enough, what's the word I'm looking for? Like strengthen your diaphragm to where it doesn't look like your stomach's moving. But at the same time, my stomach was shaking because I was crying. So I was like, wow, I am a disaster. Like, this other girl is gonna book it. She's gonna be so good. And because her acting is like, oh, she's incredible. Her acting, singing, dancing, all of it. You want to talk about a triple threat. She is.
Bella keeps talking.
Oh, but so we read the scene, David and I, and then I read with the other gentleman as well. And after that, they kept me there still. So I was like, what is happening? They must be having a really deep conversation right now. Like, cause I think I did pretty well on all fronts, you know, like they can't really have me do anymore. But then they had me read with Frollo and I was like, oh boy. And I believe I read with Lance, who was our Frollo. And I was like, this is so weird. Like, are they setting it up? Or like, you know, they're trying to find the relationships and stuff like that. And then after that, they sent the other girl home. And it was just me. And I was like, okay, there's some sort of twist that's happening here. I don't know what's going on. Like, because and my poor friends, like they at this time had both gotten cut. And I was a part of their carpool. So they had to wait.
And they're like, wait, yeah. They're like, what is going on?
Exactly. We were all just so confused. And so they, I believe they sang the Frollos after that and then made another big cut. And then all of them got to go home. And then it was just me. And I was like, what the F is happening? So they called me back in and they were like, and this was the music director who, Ella McMahon, is insane. I wish she worked at every theater. She is incredible. Like, I love her. She asked me if I could sing Rhythm of the Tambourine and God Help the Outcasts back to back. I think just to see the, like, not the longevity, but something around there. Like the sustainability, to see how well I'm able to sustain a show, you know, because those two songs are very different and they require very different forms of energy. And so she wanted to make sure that like I didn't fall flat after Rhythm of the Tambourine going into God Help the Outcast shortly after and then just whiffing it, you know? So I sang both songs again and they were just like, okay. And I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, what?
Like, what do I do now? And they were like, we're done for you. We're done with you for the night. And I was like, okay, great. Thank you so much. And we drove home and it was the strangest drive home because even then I didn't know. I was like, I don't know if I got it or not, you know, like they let the other girl go home. Maybe she gave them what they wanted, you know? And shortly after, it was about an hour later, because we had driven from North County, San Diego, up to Inland Empire area. And I got a call from an LA number, and I was like, okay, this is weird. So I picked up the phone, and there he was, Steve Glaudini, producer, artistic director of Hunchback, Moonlight's own. And he was like, I just wanted to see how you were doing. Like, I just wanted to check up on you. And I was like, I'm fine. I get, like, what do I say? What do I say to that? You know? So I was
having
like,
a panic attack.
yeah, I was like, everything's good. Like, you know, I had the drive to just kind of like look back on my audition. He's like, how do you think you did? I was like, you know, I think I did okay. And I was like, why are you having this talk with me right now? And he was having a long-winded conversation to basically tell me that I got the part. And I fell to the ground. Like typical over-dramatic musical theater person, you know, like I fell to the ground and I just lost it.
Yeah.
And my best friend picked me up and like put me in his arms, because I was just a puddle. I didn't know what to do. And I was at his house, and, you know, he had already gotten cut, but it was something that I worked so hard for. And he has definitely done the same, to where I was like, it's finally happening. And like, I'm not 40, you know, I'm able to do this show, and I'm 25 years old. And like, this is what people feel like when they book Broadway. Like that's what it felt like to me. And just that whole summer was the best summer of my life. And I will always look back at it very, very fondly, just from like the insane cast that we had and the insane creative team that we had, and just being able to do it in a space like the Moonlight. I don't know if you've ever been, but oh, Becca, if you
now I need to go.
Yeah, if you're ever in the San Diego area, you need to go to the Moonlight. It is this gorgeous outdoor amphitheater that seats about 2,000 people. But there is no musical theater experience like a summer at the Moonlight.
Wait, so you keep talking about New York. Where, what were you doing in New York, and why did you move to?
I was doing absolutely nothing. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
No, I moved out there just after I graduated college. Not immediately, but it was the start of 2017 when I moved out there, and I was gonna do it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna move to New York and I'm gonna be a big star. And it was the complete opposite, where I got there with, I wish I was lying. I got there with like $5 in my bank account. Like I was broke as all jokes. And I had no idea where to start. And AMDA gave us a really nice like plate of, here's how to figure out New York City, for someone who had never lived there before. I'd been there, but living there, I was like, okay, let me look through this book and see if I'm like doing everything correctly. But you really can't do everything correctly when you're there. It is such a different environment than California is, and me being a California girl, like it definitely took me by surprise. So I went out there and I tried to make it happen. I'd be at Pearl Studios every single day, like going to auditions as much as I could. But then my human job took over. And that's where it started to get like heartbreaking, where I was like, okay, I'm just here to live, you know, I'm not here to make the dream happen. And it was then that I realized, I was like, this isn't for me. Like, you know, maybe New York's not my spot, or like, maybe I need to go when I'm older or something like that. Cause I was fresh out of college. So I was 22, 23 years old. Yeah.
That's young for New York. I feel like,
and some people go when they're like young, like a lot of people have made their Broadway debuts when they're like 18, 19 years old. So it's like, you know, I had this image of what I thought New York was going to be, and it was not that at all, at least for my experience living there and grinding there. But I'm happy I did it. I was only there for 6 months. Would I go back again? Absolutely. Now that my resume is bigger, I have more experience in the industry, and you know, I have a musical theater reel to go back with, you know.
There you go.
But you know, fresh out of college, only doing, I think I did 3 shows regionally here in LA before I moved. Like it was nothing. They would overlook me in a second. And I wasn't represented, so you know, I didn't have anybody to like back me up and say like, oh, okay, you know, like let's send you in for Hamilton, for Wicked, for whatever, you know. And now I can do all those auditions out here.
Yeah.
Because my agents are awesome, so they are able to like make that stuff happen from LA, even though that's where I choose to be. So would I go again? Yes, and I think I'd give myself more time there, like to actually grind and just be comfortable with doing that instead of having a side gig, like a side job, because that's what really took me away from theater. So that was when my theater went dark and I wasn't able to do anything. But a friend of mine, like now part of my theater family, she reached out to me and was like, hey, you know, we talked about doing this musical. It's an original piece based off of 90s music, if you want to come back to California. And I was like, I'll be there, thank you. And I zoomed out. Like I couldn't have flown out of New York faster. I am so thankful that I was able to come back, you know, and to come back to just starting out, like coming back to an opportunity, you know, like I came back, had a musical in my hand, and that was what I was going to do. And from there, it just launched this whole new chapter of my life that I was not expecting to happen. Because so many people in college, like teachers and students alone, they would all tell me, move to New York, that's the place you need to be. When in fact, it's not necessarily true for everybody. Yeah. Like I know people that thrive in New York, like that is their jam. That's where they live. That's where they breathe. And for me at that time, it wasn't. And
it was overwhelming, probably.
It was very overwhelming. And I feel like that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that New York isn't where you have to go, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's not the end goal for everybody. Is it the end goal for me? Yes. But
you can do it. I can see you.
I'm on my way. They keep writing musicals that I love. So I will go where the wind takes me.
Yeah.
And even if that means like a Seattle tryout, a Chicago tryout, or whatever, I will be there, and I will make it happen so that I can call my mom and tell her that I booked Broadway. That's all I want in my life, really, is to just be able to call my mom and tell her that I booked Alphabet Lake. that's the number one goal.
I can't wait to see that on your Instagram or something one of these days.
It's so funny. I've written it out in my head so many times because, you know, they always tell us to just manifest things and bring things into fruition. And that was similar to what happened when I booked Esmeralda. I wrote this whole long thing. But I always kind of write it out in my head. I was like, what if it happened? You know, because it keeps getting closer and closer, like with Emma doing it and Shoshana doing it and now Lindsay doing it. It's like, it is in my backyard. I just need to figure out how to get in there. We'll figure it out. It'll, in one of those things, it's like Broadway will come back quicker than we're expecting it to.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they have all of this stuff figured out and planned, like all of the webinars and seminars and stuff that people have been having.
Right.
Is like, they've got it covered. They're going to make sure everybody is protected and safe, and our unions are taking very, very good care of us. So I don't think it'll be very long. It's just now figuring out how to make it happen, you know, or how to go back to as close to normal as possible.
Yes. Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon. What advice would you give to young performers?
Take your time. Take your time, because we live, especially now, like, and this is compared to like back in 2012, 2013, like when I was a youth.
Yes.
But especially now, we run into like the get rich quick scheme of musical theater, where like you have to be famous already to be a theater actor, or you have to be TikTok famous or whatever to like even get seen for this stuff. But there are people like us that are out here that have been grinding for all of these years And it happens to them if they just take their time, you know, like perfect example, Lindsay Heather Pierce, you know, she's been grinding for ages. And, you know, from Glee Project to now, like just that gap of time, she had been doing so many other things and doing great things at that, you know, but then finally got her Broadway debut now, you know. Yeah. So it's not something that, like, musical theater stardom doesn't happen overnight, and I think that's what a lot of people think is the case in our industry, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of patience and a lot of dedication, because there will be times that you feel like you fall off, and you know, and a lot of faith, you know, just of making sure that you know that it is possible for you, and then you'll go as far as the eye can see.
This is my 5th interview now, and like 3 of them, people have brought up Lindsay in it.
Because she's literally the living, breathing dream, yeah. You know, and so seeing her thing, and similar to Michael too, it's like they have been grinding for the same amount of time. Like, Lindsay won the spot from the Glee Project, and Michael auditioned for it. And yeah. The Robert Ulrich, who cast Zoe, brought up Michael and was like, you need to bring him into this audition so that he can, like, just be seen. And Michael at the time was like a nobody, you know, even though he's like Rockwell famous and For the Record famous. But he went in auditioning for Skylar's part and ended up walking out with Leaf, you know? So it's like more and more of these stories keep happening of just like having faith in the grind. Exactly. And they're happening within our backyard. So it's like,
it's amazing.
It is possible. And now being able to see good friends make that happen, you're like, okay, great. I'm not too far behind, and it doesn't make you lose sight of those dreams that you've been shooting for since you were 12, you know? So
yes. Second to last question. How do you think live theater will be different when it's able to safely come back?
I think it's going to be really weird at first, because I know, like, doing the last Rockwell show before Rockwell closed kind of gave me a look into how that was going to go, where the audiences are going to be smaller. There's going to be masks everywhere. Like, everyone, you're not going to be able to see people's smiles and like general reactions. You can see it with their eyes, of course. Yeah. But, and you'll still hear people laugh because a mask isn't like a soundproof thing. But it'll mostly be the less people aspect of it, where it's the full, when we say full house, it's going to be like 30 people. And I know it'll be different for every theater, because, you know, depending on square footage and depending on seating and like how many people can actually fit in this place, it'll be different. But I don't think the performance aspect of it will be any different. I think that actors and creatives are very, very capable of keeping magic alive no matter the circumstance. And
it's the virtual stuff.
Exactly. Like, you know, the theater people are capable of everything. Like, I will stand by that for the rest of my life, that they are able to make a diamond out of a rock. Yeah. And just the brain power and the creative spirit that any musical theater person has, or any film, TV, any artist has, they have the power to do anything. So I don't think the rehearsal processes will be a little different, and tech will be a little bit different, and, you know, everybody won't be so like lovey-dovey as much as we used to be. But I think once everything feels safe and we have a vaccine that is like a confident vaccine that works, then we'll feel more comfortable about going back to, quote, normal, even though it never will go back, you know, as Ragtime would put it, we will never go back to before.
Sad days.
I know. It's like, that's something that I think drew us all to the musical theater world. It's because it's so inclusive, and you meet lifelong friends through it, and family, and you know, like at a turn of a dime, your life can change, you know, just by doing something that you're so passionate about. And I know people will probably feel that about like doing normal human jobs, but like us as musical theater people have very big hearts. So, and we put all of that heart into what we do.
Have you been working on anything in quarantine that you'd want to promote?
I wish. Other than Pixel Playhouse, I just had another interview drop on my friend Perrin's podcast. It's called The Next Project on Anchor, but you can also find it on Spotify, which is pretty cool. Link in my bio. I'm mostly working on like just staying knowledgeable with the world and like what's happening and everything, like, you know, just to make sure that when everything does come back to life, I'm not completely out of the loop. But we are working on a couple of other projects and making stuff happen that I don't know if I'm able to announce yet, but when I do, it'll be on my Instagram. But it's just like a short little performance thing that a lot of people have been doing around other theaters. You know, kind of like one of those one night only sort of things, or like a fun compilation video. Like my friend did a cover of Cabin Fever from the Muppets movie, and it's on YouTube. You can just look up, I think, Sean W. Smith Cabin Fever, and it should pop up. But Michael and I did it, and it was hilarious, just all of the people that we were able to bring together for that. But yeah, little projects like that, and I'm still getting accustomed to like taking on projects that, you know, require a lot of mental stability in a way. And also just, you know, adjusting to the new way that we're handling things. So mental stability is so hard to come by these days. Oof. Seriously. So it's nice to kind of drown myself in like spending time with him while he's in town and playing video games. So like catch me on Animal Crossing. I'm sure all of us play it, and we've gotten to the point where we're all going insane. But probably. I think that's where I'm at right now, and picking up the guitar again, like trying to figure out how to actually play an instrument again, you know, because my clarinet's at my uncle's house, so it's not like I'm gonna bust out my clarinet and play that. But it's like, you know, just trying to find other special skills that I can like put on my resume. So like if I can play the guitar, I'll be like, cool, I can accompany myself in audition. Or I'm considering buying a bass just to have like, because I hear bass lines more than I do in anything, like just in all genres of music. So I was like, yeah, maybe I can catch on to that because I can hear it, because I'm an auditory learner when it comes to instruments. And then, you know, I can just kind of figure it out on my own. And I have friends that play bass, so I can pay them for lessons and they can teach me the ways. So, but yeah, just kind of exploring more of myself, and like seeing what else I am capable of on top of musical theater. Well, I can't wait to like see you at the next, whenever there's another Rockwell cabaret night in the future. I can't wait to see you up on stage playing guitar. That would be the dream. If I could play a guitar in front of a crowd of people, I think that's the next like closer to home goal that I can actually make happen. And it'll be either the Rockwell Cabaret or it'll be online or something, you know, like I think I can make it happen. And to keep up with anything you drop, any future guitar covers and stuff, where can people follow you on social media? People can find me on social media at Esmeralda. I'm sure you're gonna have to like write it somewhere on there because it is a speller. But underscore at the end. And that's mostly where I keep up to date as much as possible. I haven't been posting as much like normally, just because, you know, we're not. What is there? Exactly. What is there to post? You know, and like most of my stuff is on my stories. It's just a lot of like infographics and stuff about today's current society. But yeah, Michael and I were just talking about like, should we take pictures, like, you know, like of each other and like make our Instagrams poppin'? Like, what should we do? But yeah, you can find me on there, or if I post about anything on Facebook, it's through my like actors page. So if you just look up Janaya Jones on Facebook, you can find it there. So like this will be on there, and like the podcast I just posted about today, like my friend's podcast.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to bring that one back to life.
Yes. Promote yourself. And then
promote.
Yes, promote your talented self, so then you can get, so then people, casting directors on Broadway, have like stuff to look at when you go back.
Bernie Telsey, I'm right here. Yes. Bernie Telsey, I'm right here. Craig Burns, I'm right here.
Thanks for watching this episode of Backstage with Becca B. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV, or you can follow me on Instagram at Backstage with Becca B for more exclusive content from these interviews and more. Thanks for watching. Bye.